Here is how the smartest mechanics in the country are beating the dealership at its own game, and they call it the delete loophole. The service manager slides the little computer across the counter and it is dead. No lights, no click, nothing. That plastic box the size of a paperback ran your whole truck for 20 years, and now it is a brick. You ask the parts man for a new one, and he taps his keyboard, and his face does that thing you have seen before. He says the words every truck owner has come to dread: no longer available. Then he leans on the counter and points out the window at a shiny 2026 model with a payment book thick as a phone book, and he smiles like he is doing you a favor. It is not a tune, not a chip, not some app on your phone. It is a real delete. They reach into that engine bay, they grab the locked factory brain off the firewall, and they rip it out by the roots. And what they put in its place is the whole point of everything I am about to tell you. So hold that thought, friend, because I am going to walk you all the way to it. My name is Earl, and for 40 years I have turned wrenches on diesel trucks, watching them take a good thing and ruin it. I have got nothing to sell you and no dog in your fight. I am just an old diesel man who has seen what happens when a machine stops belonging to the man who paid for it, and I would rather you hear it from me than learn it standing at that parts counter. Now let me be straight with you before we go 1 inch further, because I respect you too much to blow smoke. Some of what I am going to describe lives in the world of off-road trucks, farm rigs, race builds, and old project irons sitting out behind the barn. The emissions equipment on a truck that drives the public road is there for a reason, and there are laws about it, and I am not here to teach you to break them. I mean that. This is not a how-to for dodging the law. What I am talking about is bigger and older than any of that. It is your right to fix, to understand, and to control the machine you bought with your own money. That right does not have an expiration date, and no dealer gets to take it from you. Before we get rolling, do me one favor. Look down at that little subscribe button. Only a small slice of the folks who watch these ever tap it, and I understand life is busy. But if you love the idea of taking back control of your own truck and beating the dealer's lock, that button is how you tell me to keep going. It is free, and you can change your mind any day of the week, and nobody will chase you. It costs you nothing, and it helps an old diesel man keep making these for the people who still care. That is the whole ask. Now let us get into it. They don't build them like they used to, and the first place you feel it is the engine control module. On an early 2000S truck, that module is the brain. It reads your sensors, it fires your fuel, it times your spark, and when it dies, the dealer says those magic words and points at the new one. But here is what he is praying you never find out. There is a whole industry that builds a better brain than the one that just quit on you, and installing it is the first real delete. A modern self-tuning standalone system, something like a Holly Terminator, drops right in where that dead factory box used to live. You pull the crusty 20-year-old harness, you unbolt the corpse of the old computer off the firewall, and you set in a unit that answers to you and nobody else. No cellular modem phoning home, no corporate server logging your fuel trims while you sleep. You hold the spark and the fuel in your own two hands, and when a sensor fails, you plug in your own laptop, read it plain as day, and buy an aftermarket part that shows up in 2 days for pocket change. That is not science fiction. That is a Saturday in the driveway with a wiring diagram and a cup of coffee. And let me tell you why that matters more than the money, though the money is real. When the factory brain runs your truck, you are a passenger in your own vehicle. You do not know why it stumbles at a stoplight. You do not know why it drinks fuel on the highway. The computer knows, but it will not tell you because it was never built to answer to you. It was built to answer to a technician at a dealership with a laptop you are not allowed to own and a password you will never be given. A standalone system flips that on its head. Every number is yours to see. Every setting is yours to turn. You go from renting a mystery to owning a machine you understand down to the last wire. That is the trade, friend. That is what the delete really buys you, and it is worth 10 times what it costs. Now, I am not going to lie to you about the catch, because there is one, and it matters. Whatever you do, don't yank that factory computer out on a truck with an electronic automatic transmission without a plan for the gearbox. Your GM 4L60E or your Ford 4R70W has no brain of its own. It leans on that computer to think. Pull the brain and walk away, and the transmission panics, jams the line pressure to the moon, and locks itself in third gear. Folks call that limp mode, and it will strand you. The blue-collar fix is a standalone transmission controller that takes over the thinking. Or the better fix, the one I love, swap in a heavy-duty manual with a clutch pedal and cut the digital cord clean. A stick shift cannot be told what to do by a dead microchip. Hold on to that, because it is the shape of where we are headed. You don't own it, you're just renting it, and nowhere is that plainer than the key in your hand. The old ignition lock cylinders, the honest brass ones, are being discontinued in favor of hackable push-button fobs. And you cannot just walk up to a 1999 Silverado or F-150 and hotwire it with a toggle switch like your daddy could. The factory built in an immobilizer. On the GM trucks, they called it pass lock, or VATS on the older ones. Ford called theirs PATS. Here's the villain, plain and dated. Starting back in the middle 1990s and rolling forward, these systems watch for a specific electrical resistance hidden in your key. Wrong resistance, and the security module cuts your injectors dead. No fuel, no start. And when the proprietary cylinder wears out and gets discontinued, you are stuck. Now hear me, that is not a conspiracy. It is just money. Nobody in a boardroom hates you. They found a way to make the parts run out and the payments never stop, and they took it, same as water runs downhill. I want you to sit with that because it is easy to get angry and stay angry, and anger does not fix a truck. The men who make these calls are not twirling mustaches in the dark. They are looking at a spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet says a locked truck sells more new trucks than an open one, and a discontinued part sends more folks to the showroom than a shelf full of spares. It is cold, but it is not personal, and once you see that clearly, you stop being scared of it and you start working around it. That is the whole difference between a man who feels beaten and a man who gets to work. But the mechanic has an answer. You trace the ignition wires, you find the resistance value the factory key was feeding that module, and you solder in a resistor that matches it, 10 cents of copper and ceramic that fools the security system into thinking the right key is present. Then you wire in marine-grade toggle switches and a push-button start, the kind that will outlive the truck. A discontinued proprietary lock cylinder, the one the dealer wanted $300 for, replaced by a $5 switch from the hardware store, and a resistor that costs less than a stick of gum. That, friend, is a delete too. Do it now this week before you need it. Go find the ohm rating of your ignition system and write it on a piece of tape stuck inside your glove box. Costs you nothing but an afternoon, and it will save you a tow bill someday. They don't build them like they used to, and your comfort is on the chopping block too. The factory climate control module fails. The blend door actuator strips its little plastic gears and starts clicking at you like a cricket. And that control head, the one with the pretty backlit dials, wants $400 if you can even find it. But here is the secret hiding in plain sight. Those rotary air conditioning switches are, at bottom, just resistors. That is all they are. So you bypass the dead $400 module and you wire a universal rheostat dial, a simple knob, straight to the blower motor. It is not luxury, it will not glow blue at night, but it blows ice-cold air for about $20 in wire and connectors, and it will never once ask you to update its software. Simple beats fancy every single time it gets cold enough to matter. And that is the pattern under all of this, friend, if you have started to see it. Every fancy part they sell you is a simple part wearing an expensive costume. The $400 module is a handful of resistors. The $300 lock cylinder is a switch and a little chip. The computer is a box of decisions you are perfectly capable of making yourself. Once you learn to see past the costume to the simple thing underneath, the whole truck stops being scary. You realize they did not build something you cannot understand. They built something plain and then dressed it up so you would pay to have it explained back to you. And now we come to the nuclear option, the one the old-timers grin about, and it points straight at where this whole road has been leading. When the fuel injection is too far gone to save, and you do not want to spend $2,000 on a standalone, you throw a carburetor and a distributor on it, and you go back 50 years on purpose. Now, you cannot just drop an analog distributor into a modern LS or Vortec engine, because those motors fire with coil packs and have no distributor hole to begin with. So you have two honest roads. You add an aftermarket ignition controller box to handle the spark while the carburetor handles the fuel, or you gut the thing entirely and drop in a pre-1986 small block Chevy V8, a motor so simple it practically runs on faith. Here's why the old men smile. A carburetor runs on pure fluid dynamics and engine vacuum. Air moves, fuel follows, that is the whole religion. No mass airflow sensor, no electronic throttle body, no idle air control valve waiting to fail. And I will tell you a story that is gospel truth in shops all over this country. A gasket in that carburetor lets go while you are 200 miles from the nearest town, sun going down, no bars on the phone. On a computer truck, you are calling a wrecker and sleeping in the cab. But on a carburetor, you reach into the trash behind the seat, you pull out an empty cereal box, and you lay the old gasket on the cardboard and trace it with a pocket knife. 10 minutes later, that cardboard gasket is bolted in, and you are driving home under your own power. You cannot do that with a silicon microchip. You cannot whittle a new circuit board out of a cereal box on the shoulder of the road. That is the difference between owning a machine and being owned by one. I have watched a truck come back from the dead with my own eyes. Fellow I know had a good solid rig, body straight, frame clean, and the factory computer died, and the dealer had nothing but a sales pitch. That truck was one phone call from the scrapyard, going to be crushed into a cube over a dead plastic box. He put a standalone system in it over 3 weekends, wired it himself with a diagram spread on the hood, and that truck is running today stronger than it ever ran from the factory, and it answers to him alone, saved from the crusher by a man who refused to be told his truck was garbage. And I will tell you, the first weekend he called me near ready to quit. Wires everywhere, nothing firing, and he was sure he had ruined a good truck. I told him what I am telling you. Slow down, read one wire at a time. The machine is not smarter than you, it is just patient, and it will wait for you to understand it. By the third weekend he was not asking me anything. He had passed the point where the truck belonged to the engineers who built it and crossed over to where it belonged to him. That is a line every one of you can cross, and it is not as far off as it looks from where you are standing right now. Now you might be thinking this is all beyond you, that you waited too long, that you should have learned this back when your hands were younger. Let me put that down for you right now. You did not fail anything. Nobody handed you a wiring diagram and told you the game was rigged toward the payment book. You are learning it now, and now is soon enough. That is all that has ever been required, friend, the willingness to learn it now. And you are not crazy for feeling like the deck is stacked, because a named and serious part of this country agrees with you. There is a whole aftermarket industry, the folks at Holly and the Standalone engine management builders, whose entire business is making sure a good engine never dies just because a corporation stopped caring. There is the right to repair movement, real people fighting in real estate houses for your legal right to fix the things you own. Winning bills in state after state that say a company cannot lock you out of the machine you paid for. And there is SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Trade Association, an outfit with real weight in Washington, standing up for the aftermarket and for the ordinary man's right to modify and maintain his own vehicle every single year. You are not alone crank in a garage. You are standing with a movement that has lawyers and engineers and a spine, and it is winning ground slow and steady because the idea underneath it is as old as this country. A man owns what he pays for. A man may fix what he owns. Nobody up top invented that. They just forgot it for a while, and now a whole lot of us are reminding them. Here is the truth they underestimated. They thought that by starving the parts supply for these golden era trucks, we would all just surrender and become digital subscribers, paying every month to rent a machine we thought we owned. But they misjudged the American mechanic. If the dealer will not sell the part, the aftermarket builds a better one. If the computer dies, we wire our own. If the electronics fail us for good, we go back to mechanical fuel and mechanical spark. The old ways, the ways that cannot be locked, cannot be discontinued, cannot be shut off from a server in another state. So here it is, the reveal I promised you at the start, the ultimate delete. It is not any one trick I have named, it is the whole idea behind all of them. The ultimate delete is ripping out that locked factory brain and running your own standalone, or going fully mechanical, so the dealership can never again hold your truck hostage. It is severing the leash. When your truck has no factory computer left to fail, no immobilizer left to lock you out, no module left to be discontinued, then there is nothing left for them to hold over your head. You have deleted their power over you. That is the loop closed. That is the whole game. And the old mechanical ways cannot be locked. A carburetor does not care what year it is. A resistor does not phone home. A stick shift does not need permission. Everything mechanical and simple is a door they cannot bolt shut, and every one of you has the hands to walk through it. That is the freedom hiding in the old iron, and it was always yours. Now do not let the size of it stop you, because the entry ticket is cheap. You do not start by ripping out a computer this afternoon. You start with a $20 scanner, the little kind that plugs under your dash, and you learn to read your own sensors and stop being a stranger to your own engine. That is the ticket, $20, and the willingness to learn what your truck is telling you. Plug it in, write down the numbers, and next time something feels off, plug it in again and see what changed. That is how you learn a machine, the same way you learn the sound of your own truck's engine on a cold morning, one honest day at a time. Before long, you will read a code and know exactly what it means, and the dealer's mystery will not scare you anymore, because there will not be a mystery left. From there, keep an older analog truck in the fleet if you can, one that was built before they learned how to lock the door, and you will always have a machine that answers to you. That old truck is not just transportation, it is insurance. It is the one rig in your yard that no server can shut off, no immobilizer can lock, no discontinued part can kill for good, because everything on it can be fixed with a wrench and a little knowledge. Treat it like the treasure it is, and it will still be running long after this year's shiny model is a locked up brick in somebody's driveway. Whatever you do, don't hand over the keys to your own understanding. Do not let anybody, dealer or salesman or slick young fellow with a tablet, convince you that your truck is too complicated for you to ever grasp. It is not. It never was. Buy the iron, not the computer, and the iron will keep its promise to you long after the computer has been shut off from somewhere you will never see. So let me leave you with a question, and I want you to answer it down in the comments in two parts. First, what is the oldest truck you have still got running in your yard right now? And second, is there one part on it the dealer has already told you is no longer available? I read every one of them, and I learned from you as much as you learned from me. You are the owner and the engineer, friend, not a subscriber. That is who you have always been. Keep that old iron running, and don't let them sell you a truck you can't fix. I'll see you in the next one. And in the next one, I am going to show you the one factory sensor that fails more than any other on these trucks. The little part that leaves more good men stranded on the shoulder than anything else under the hood, and the $2 trick old mechanics use to limp home when it quits. You are going to want to hear that one before your truck teaches it to you the hard way.